to Coffee and Pan Dulce. As y'all can see, we have full house today, and it's Wednesday, September 4. Oh my gosh. All right, well, we always enjoy every week, every Wednesday at Cano's house. Why don't we welcome Christian? Come on over.
And you've got new music today.
Oh yeah, I like those jams, right, Jenny?
I like
Come
it a
on,
lot.
Jenny, you feel it.
I don't know who it is, but I still like it. I was already rocking it out before we went on camera.
Wow. we do have a full house today. That's
We
good.
sure
That's
do.
wonderful. Listen, we have a special two-show day today. We're going to have
Two
this,
for one.
2 for 1. You get 2 for 1 today. We have this special show today. Hold on a second. Alexa, stop.
It's buy one, get one free.
What do they call it?
Oh, okay.
BOGO.
BOGO.
Buy one, get one.
Actually, it's Wednesday, BOGO. Yeah.
That's right.
Double down Wednesday.
Welcome to Coffee and Ponducci. I'm Christian Cano, and our co-hosts Ruth and Jeff. We want to welcome you. We're having our regular show today, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to restream live again for our special debate on climate change, which is very timely because the Amazon fires are going on. The hurricane, I want to say Dora.
Dora the Explorer.
Dora the Explorer.
It's Dorian.
No, it's
Dorian,
Dora
which
the
is-
Horror.
Yeah, Dora the Horror. That's right. Dora. There's also the National Organization of Women here in Charlotte are having a climate meeting tonight, and maybe you can briefly talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's on CNN the climate presidential debate as well. So I'm really anxious to see the second show, even though this is going to be an exciting show,
It is.
because I want to hear these two guys debate climate change, and so that's going to be very exciting. And
It'll be a
we're
battle of
going-
the wits, half on each side. It's already started.
You know how this is
Can we
going
just
down,
flip that
don't
show
you?
and do that one first,
Yeah,
and
we
then?
probably should. All right, so
Twisted group of people, I say.
everyone
Except for
introduce,
Tara.
everyone introduce yourself in 30 seconds. We're going to keep it timely on this
Where's
one.
my bell?
Yes, I'm going to go get the bell now
Wait,
because I
full
forgot my
house.
coffee. 30 seconds, and then tell us a button if you had a button. And while you're doing that, I'm going to grab my
buttons.
coffee, the bell, and my button. So we'll
Okay.
start on our right because you're always right as I try to
Of course.
sneak out.
Y'all
Of
can
course.
see. Y'all can see. We're on the right side.
Jenny James Gunn. I represent the National Organization of Women right here. I'm the vice president of the board. Of course, one of my best friends on the entire planet, Tera Long, running for county commissioner at large. I'm on her campaign. I'm a huge fan. And she's a great human being. Medicare for all. Woo! And Jennifer De La Horror on my body. She gave me her.
That was more than
t-shirt.
30 seconds.
Alright, I dipped into yours. I dipped into yours.
That's fine.
Okay.
Give you my 30s. Ruth Perez, community advocate, and that's it for
See?
today.
There we go.
That's it.
I'm Jeff Scott, man about town, and fantastic candidate in the 9th District. I'm wearing my Julian Assange shirt because whistleblower is in jail for publishing, and we hope he's not extradited to the United States, where he will be even more miserable than he is in the British prison, Belmarsh.
I'm Alan Smith, area dad at large, also running for Congress against this fantastic human being here.
Love it.
I'm wearing my usual button, the North Carolina Green Party. We're an independent third party in North Carolina. We believe in grassroots democracy, social justice, environmentalism, and peace. It's nonviolent.
peace.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah. Climate change is top of mind.
That's right. That's
But
right.
yes, you should look us up.
Absolutely. My name is Tera Long. As Jenny said, I'm running for County Commission at large.
Woo!
Thank you. So I'm wearing the Sierra Club. Shout out to Lewis, who had an excellent presentation this past weekend. And I'll pass it to Cano.
Well, someone has stolen our bell.
No.
No way.
We're just going to have to rely on our,
So you're
on
gonna
our-
have to have an imaginary bell today.
our
I don't-
biological
yeah,
clocks.
just click those.
We'll just
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll go like this. Okay.
Sounds
I'm
like a
Christian
Texas
Cano.
football
It's so
game.
I
wonderful.
forgot
that-
to wear my pearls, otherwise I would rattle my pearls.
That's right.
I so want to see you with a pearl necklace.
I do too.
Wait. I can arrange that.
Oh my God.
Do they make noise though?
Yes, if you wear this many, they do.
Oh wow.
I'll just
Oh,
use
wow.
them as shakers.
No, put it right.
I can hear
I wanna
them.
see it
Shake
right
them, shake
now.
them.
They don't make enough noise.
Yeah, you have to get close to the mic
Yeah.
or something. All right. I'm Christian Cano. Once again, today is September the 4th. It's hard to believe that it's already September. School has started here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County all around, and it is exciting. Today, we are excited to have our wonderful co-host, and I guess we missed you last week. I know they canceled that candidate forum.
That's right. I was
the only
in.
one that showed up.
I was in Union County, and I went to a realtor forum that had been canceled because, and I knew that Alan couldn't make it, but I didn't realize that the other two candidates had not responded
So
either.
if Alan had showed up,
wow.
would they have had it?
I don't know because
The other ones didn't respond.
yeah, the others didn't respond. So we
So
know this.
much for-
We know this has happened
Yeah.
periodically throughout the campaign, and even Dan Bishop said something about McCready not showing up to some of his Republican events. And even though Alan and I showed up to McCready's largely Democratic event, so there's a lot of.
Did he show up in those?
Well, the Republicans and Democrats are both sort of using the thing that Alan and I have been saying, which is you're not showing up.
And we've been saying
right?
that for 2 years.
Yeah. So it's a little ridiculous and disingenuous at
They
best.
just love playing hide and go seek.
Well, let's salute to Coffee and Panduse. We're a little.
We didn't say our buttons, but okay.
Oh, did we? I thought you did.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we
Oh,
were
I
supposed
did.
to.
Yeah, we didn't say it.
Well, say
I
yours
do.
real quickly.
Gun 1 cents.
Yes, gun sets. Okay, so I'm wearing the Moms Demand Action shirt. There was a huge victory last night for those gun sense individuals. Walmart has decided
Yes.
to no longer sell long guns and I believe handguns as well.
Handguns and rejected people to walk
And
in.
people to walk in. Yes, ma'am.
Shout out to Dr. Rodney Sadler, who was
Yes.
watching and said, "Hi,
Oh,
friends."
hey, Reverend Sadler.
Hey,
How are you?
Reverend.
Great to see you. So that's a wonderful thing, and I also understand that there is another store that is considering doing that as well. So once Walmart has made the decision to do it, I think we're going to find other stores. Panera Bread has been doing it for a while. I think Starbucks, as far as allowing guns into their establishments. So that is really exciting.
Well, that's actually becoming more common.
Yes.
You'll see a lot of independent and major chains of stores, grocery stores, that are wanting to be gun-free zones, besides churches and schools,
Yeah.
it should be. You're starting to see that deal because honestly, it just doesn't need to be a Wild West.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
Or in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I've had this. I've
have.
actually had an experience with this as a business owner. Years ago, and I had a guy that had an open carry license, and he had a hip holster, but he would like to pull it out and he'd fidget with it.
Oh.
Yeah,
And I
that's-
finally said, I know that you have a license for it, but this is the workplace, and that's kind of triggering for people that have had violent crime against them. I need you to go put it in your car or take it home. And I made him do it because I said, we're not law enforcement agency,
Yeah.
we're a call center,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
when and even though you're my manager, and you just stow away the gun safely, we just don't need to see that. So
Well, that's so that's a great victory for those of us who are looking
Yes.
for gun sense legislation, also to hold businesses accountable. I do like the fact that people are now talking about gun liability insurance, and I think
Yes.
once we're able to pass gun liability insurance in states, it will dramatically increase the amount of businesses that will not allow guns into their establishments, especially hotels.
Yep.
And the reason is because the liability insurance
be
would
so
be
high.
so outrageous. And quite honestly, the taxpayers, I believe, should not have to foot the bill for these irresponsible gun owners who get their guns lost. But on that topic, and we actually have a guest that has booked on September 25th. Stoney Rushing, County Commissioner from Union County, will be our guest here, a special guest here, and I'm sure that is something that we'll be talking about.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
we'll be promoting that show as well. September 25th, Stoney Rushing, who ran for Congress, who actually Mark Harris endorsed for Congress,
That's right.
and as county commissioner, and he will be on our show on September 25th. So I'm very excited to hear his perspective on some of the things that we talk about. I know you and him probably align a lot more than
Yeah.
we will, but
Yeah.
but I once again I respect the fact that as an elected public servant he's willing to have the adult conversation around the table with
I
us.
think we need more of those.
Yes, and I hope
We
people
definitely do.
understand that that's basically what we're doing. Remember, we
Mhm.
started about educating people and so forth. So my buttons are obviously my family has 4 choices, and this is one of the choices. I can't say which one of us because I might be censored or whatever. But Alan Smith.
Demonetized.
Alan Smith is running for one of our choices here. We're very excited. And he was not endorsed by the Charlotte Observer, which is even better because sometimes,
Yes,
sometimes the Charlotte Observer endorsement is a kiss of death. I was endorsed and I lost. Dan McCready was endorsed and he lost. Kenny Smith was endorsed, he lost. So it's not always the best thing in the world to get endorsed. And then Medicare for All, which is so important. And I think we're getting closer and closer, especially with the other big news that occurred, which is the state lines have been ruled unconstitutional in North Carolina.
Yesterday.
It occurred late last night, and the Republican-led Senate head of the Senate has said that they are not going to appeal it. So it means they are going to be redrawing the districts. We don't know what that means because you still have the same Republican control who will be drawing the districts. But that means that our 2020 elections are going to be less gerrymandered. They probably still will be, and the 2020 election is important at the state level because they will draw the congressional districts. So this is very big news.
So that might change for all of us.
Well,
Oh, it will
Mr.
But that will it will change. But
Yeah.
that is just so excited. I'm not a big fan of Senator Jeff Jackson, but I do have to give him kudos for standing up on this issue. Probably the last 2 years, talking about gerrymandering, bipartisan gerrymandering. So I appreciate the fact that he, even though he doesn't attend any of the other meetings that I've been to, at least this is one of those issues. I always think that it's important, not only if you are able to give someone some criticism, you give them a pat on the back as well when they do well. It sounds like a dog. But anywho, so let's get directly into our. Everyone has shared our story. So thank you for those who are watching us live and the many people who watch us on Facebook later and on YouTube, where the majority of people watch us. We actually, it was just us 2 last week, and we actually had a lot of
Viewers,
after-market viewers. Not to say that your absence was
ratings are
But actually, now we were live. They made us feel like
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
full house, so it was good.
and we had tamales last week. That's what it was.
I think that's what they call their
So,
attention.
as everyone knows, Manolo's Bakery is one of our sponsors, is our pan dulce sponsor, and I don't always have a chance to go over to pick up our pan dulce. But please visit Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue. It's an immigrant-owned business, small business, the best tres leche cakes, pan dulce, tamales,
vegetarian, if you're a
vegetarian as
vegan
well,
person.
great
Yep.
stuff. But this one is American. It is donuts, so please everyone help yourself to donuts.
Oh yeah.
So
Jenny,
let's-
you won your second one?
Yes.
I've already had my second one. Thank you very much. Thanks for pointing that out. Food shaming. Food shaming already. Oh my god.
Because I'm about to get my second one.
I'm already on my second one, girl. I'm way ahead of
Someone will
you.
hand me one. Just pick one. Something that's not too messy.
I ate it so fast I don't even know if I tasted it.
Oh,
It was
God.
so good. I was
That means the
hungry.
calories don't stick
That's right.
That's
they don't
right.
count.
when,
You know?
when you eat it really quickly. So, election. September 10th election. Very important. Once again, it's the most important election of our
Next
lifetime.
Tuesday.
In all of human history.
Every election is the most important election, but I'm very excited that we have some really good choices for city council at large. That seems to be a very competitive race. We may be making history on one of those positions. We may be getting our very first Latinx. Oh,
No,
That's
I
not
think
me.
that's the tablet.
Who is it?
It's not me.
No,
Over there.
that's yours.
It's yours.
That's yours, Tara.
I think it's the laptop. It's the laptop.
Oh, okay. All right. So tell us about the election. Tell us.
Good job.
Well, let's just start at the
Yeah, mine's-
in the mayor's race, because I think the feeling is that Mayor Lyles is a shoe-in, and that she doesn't have.
This is classic.
So we're getting mysterious sounds.
I think
The House of Ill is
Christian
haunted.
might have had a little Irish coffee this morning. Hello.
I'm sorry.
There
They
you
have
go.
tequila in it.
Yeah.
Shaming the Irish.
Look at his butt.
Oh, now I am
You don't
partially Irish,
give your
so
butt to it.
Basel.
All right. So
All right, sorry.
I was just saying that in the mayor's race, as far as I can tell, from my vantage point, you know, being involved in my own campaign, that I think V. Lyles is a shoe-in for the primary, and then because she doesn't face anybody in the general.
Well, she does have a Republican opponent, but
She does?
yeah.
Who?
Yeah, but he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
He always signs up.
Yeah.
And so people aren't going to take him seriously.
There's not going to be a lot of competition.
There's no, yeah.
But there are other people to choose. So if you're not
That's
happy with Mayor Lyle's decision for the RNC
Yeah.
or some other issues that may be issues that were important to you that you're not happy, you can vote for other individuals. My family is.
That's true.
And yes, do I think she's going to win? Yes, it'd be something serious if she didn't. But I do think it's important with any elected official that you vote what you think is best for you. There's no wasted vote. We talked about vote shaming that people do or try to do. There is no wasted vote, because if you are not happy about the RNC coming here, vote for one of the other candidates, and that is a strong signal to Mayor Lyles that she no longer can be doing what is against the will of the people.
That's true, but let me also point out that the Republicans themselves are really letting down their base by not putting up a serious candidate and not participating in debates. So the views of their constituents are not being represented, and they have failed their constituencies in the areas that they dominate. So remember, if you're a Republican and you're interested in changing the leadership of the city, your party has let you down.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Well, and that is a hot topic, because where I come from, or where I lived last in Texas, was 90% Republican, and there was a lot of times Democrats just wouldn't run. They wouldn't run it in state house seats and congressional deals, and they just wouldn't make an effort. And I think it's sad, because when you just say, I'm not going to run anybody, I'm not going to write a viable candidate, and you just mail it in, you're failing democracy.
That's
That's
right.
basically, we've become in certain parts of our country, we've become a communist nation where we have a one-party system.
That's
where
right.
if you just say, well, a Republican can't win in Charlotte,
Right.
inside the Charlotte boundaries.
That's right. You're not raising issues. You're not deliberating. You're not debating.
Exactly.
You're not doing all of those things that we're trying to do
Because-
right here.
Because no party is all good or all bad.
That's
Correct.
I attended the Young Republicans meeting last week and hung out with them. I was an invited guest,
right.
and
They were happy to have you.
They were actually even the president gave me a shout out during the meeting, and they wanted me there. They want to see other voices, and I think it's important that if you're pitching inclusion as a candidate or as an activist, for me it's core part of my activism, and how I got elected to the board of now was inclusion, and that the president purposely sought me out to be more inclusive, to have more voices at the table.
Wait, did you say Republican or Democrat?
She's just not watching the show.
Young Republicans.
Oh.
And I'm a progressive, queer, trans person, so
Wow.
I definitely was the rainbow sheep in that whole thing. Let me tell you, I stuck out. Of course, I dressed very subtly, of course. No.
I'm glad they're changing the mentality.
But the nice thing is that two of the people that are on the board there asked me to be there. They said, we want trans voices here. We want to hear about that. We want to engage with you. And it all started by going to the Heights Brewery thing where the Marianne was deal, and engaged with them there. Then they invited me to a meeting the next night, and then Caroline, that is on the board of the Young Republicans. Hi, Caroline, if you're watching. She went out of her way to invite me to last week's meeting, and I think that hits home, because if you don't engage, and if you don't have these great debates, if you duck deals like what happened to y'all last week, if you keep ducking those, then how do we have democracy? How do we have the great debates of our day?
That's right.
That's a great point, Jenny.
And I was just going to say that Alan and I both made the same point yesterday, because we were interviewed by the Monroe Inquirer Journal, so there should be something, if you're in Monroe, in Union County, it's a very localized paper, but that's the question they asked. How do you guys work together? And we said, well, because the other parties are not doing it. They are insulated, they are isolated, they're just not doing
They're best friends.
their best.
Oh, they need besties bracelets. That would be, or two halves of a heart, and you could each wear one. That's so precious. But that's how you end up having the RNC invited to town in a primarily because there was not a loyal opposition that told Vi maybe this is a bad idea, and you had just one voice drowning everybody else. Oh, we need this business, and so that's what happens in democracy. So everybody failed that by having the RNC. If we want things like the RNC coming to town, then everybody needs to get engaged. Everybody needs to voice their dissent.
Right.
And I think that's what happens in our democracy
But then
is when one voice is dominant and you
that's
don't
right.
debate the pros and cons.
Let's brief.
But then if everyone decides that they want the RNC, at the end, it was still gonna be her last word. I mean, we still got it, even though a lot of opposition have been going on, we're still gonna have it. So there's
Well,
gonna
she's
be.
on vote.
You know,
But it's-
that's just one decision that she made over the period of her 2 years. So we don't necessarily need to focus on that particular
Well,
decision.
not only that
Even-
decision-
even though a lot of people
She
are
didn't
upset
speak out.
by
She didn't.
that.
She
Not-
didn't speak
not
out
only
against
on that
ICE
decision,
raids. She
she
didn't
didn't-
do
no.
our
And also
immigrant
about the fair
community.
housing, also the $50,000 dollar that
Yeah,
we
50
got
million.
approved, the 50 millions we got approved and stuff. I mean, she made her own decisions, which we still have not seen any changes
Well,
or advancement. So I mean, those things.
yeah, but I will say to Mayor Lyles's credit, so to speak, that she did show up to the Latin American Chamber Candidate Forum.
Yeah.
And she sat with me and Lily, who was my partner in crime, in our little
Please
circle.
excuse what I'm gonna say. Of course, she's gonna show up if we're in the middle
Yes.
of
No,
elections.
I agree, and I was able to say, Mayor Lyles, as you know, I have given you a lot of grief on some of the decisions you've made, and she kind of looked at me and I said, but once the election is over, I will support whichever mayor gets elected because you are my mayor. And that's really how democracy. And then she went into her stump speech.
Yeah.
But I do think that I appreciate the fact that because the reason I say that, there are other people that we have challenged on this show that will not even look at me. And it's like, how can you be a leader? And politics is supposed to, and what it is, in what you talked about, how can you talk about you're going to go to Congress and reach across the aisle because we can swing back to this when you don't even attend Republican events or Libertarian events, and I mean for the Democratic candidate and
Correct.
the Republican candidate. You can't, if you don't even do it in your daily life or during the campaigning, then how on earth are you going to be attend?
So what you're really saying is sorry to jump in here, but what you're really saying is that some of these people, and we'll use the two Dans, they lack the courage and intestinal fortitude to go to some of these events because they know they're going to be asked the hard questions.
That's right.
And so if you have a politician that gets elected and is not representative of the community, that's not an activist, then if they're not engaging with the community, how the F do they know what the community wants?
Well,
and will they fight the battle? When the battle gets hard and you're busting filibusters in Congress and you're standing up and people are screaming across the aisle, if they can't battle here in their home district,
I agree.
how the hell do they do that when they get to Washington or the county commission? Whereas, conversely, Tera is an activist. She's a hardcore activist in the community. She's going to 300, probably more like 400 events since she's started this idea of being an activist. She is an activist. She's an activist at heart for many reasons. And she engages with the community. Even if she makes her own decisions and she's her own woman, which she is, she still has heard the people.
Yes,
and if you skip events and you're not courageous enough, because Vi, I'll give her credit. She went to that high steel.
Yep.
And she stood on stage. She got booed.
Yep.
She got booed. She kept talking anyway. She got booed, visibly booed. They had to shush the crowd.
I've been booed again, pride.
And she, you get booed all the time though. but here's the thing. She stood
So
up
he's
there,
the winner.
But she stood up on that stage, and this is where I gained respect for her, despite other things that have happened. She stood up, very noble, did her thing. and got off the stage, but didn't lose it, didn't get upset, still engaged with the crowd, still gave a wonderful speech, a very inspirational speech, in spite of the opposition. And she knew it wasn't going to be a friendly deal because that was a very raucous crowd, and crowded and hot in there too.
It
So
was hot.
if you duck events,
that's right.
you got to go in those tough
That's being
spots.
tough-minded, being independent, being
Well,
And that's the
confident.
kind of people you want to attract.
That's right.
So my whole feeling about politics is as a politician, your job is to handle angry people. So you need to be prepared to stand in front of a room and listen to the concerns, stay calm, and then walk away and try and figure out how to solve their problems.
Tara, you're so exact. And that is why, in my view, the people who make good elected public servants are people who have come from the customer service industry, people who had jobs where they manage up and manage down.
Correct.
Because you know what it's like to have to negotiate and please guests. And like for me, the best elected officials are people who probably work at Trader Joe's or a cashier at Harris Teeter or something like that, because they know you're in a customer service in that is what you're being hired to
Imagine
do.
Walmart a day after Christmas.
Those
Bartender is like AOC.
Yes. Yeah, no.
She's a prime example. She was
Exactly.
from being bartending to being in Congress. Boom,
A
right
school
there.
teacher, a parent who has kids that they have to, the stress level gets up there because you have a bunch of kids in Congress. So, for someone to be like a business owner who doesn't have anyone that tells them what to do, it's a challenge to me when they get elected because there's a lot of butting heads.
Well, they got those egos.
It's about I think it's about
You
ego.
don't tell
but-
me what to do, I'm
yes,
a
ma'am.
business owner.
So we were originally talking about candidates. So I have
Yes,
like three.
please.
Well,
Let's talk about it. Thank you.
different. I have
Good.
different candidates.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to Malcolm Grant. He's District
Oh,
2
yeah.
City Council. So he has proven leadership, and he always is a progressive voice that I have enjoyed.
Is he running this year? Or
Yes,
what?
he
'Cause I
is.
never.
So he's a former senator, and
Okay.
he's running for City Council District 2, which is Mountain Island, which is my area.
Awesome.
Okay.
Tara, can I be honest with you about something?
Sure.
No,
When he
you
first-
cannot be
When he
honest
first
on this
announced he
show.
was running,
You
And
did
I
the
saw-
happy dance.
I saw you post something about it.
Yeah.
And I looked him up, and he seemed too moderate and centrist for me. So I was not like on the bandwagon until I went to your house and I heard him speak, and then I heard him speak at Monster Man Action event and so forth. And he changed my perception of him, and that is the value of attending community events
Yes.
and candidate forums. Because people may have a perception about a certain person on paper, but when you go see them, you can go, "Oh, this person's a nut," or you can
Or
say,
different.
"Wow, this is someone who I think I can whatever,"
Trust.
and he won me over.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Luana Mayfield, one of the sweet things that
Yes.
So she's been here at Cano's house, but one of the
Yes.
sweet things that she told me was that because she's changing seats from a district to an
To a
at-large seat, so that's 800,000 people now that will have the potential to vote for her. She said, "I'm not taking any vote for granted," and I thought that is very sweet.
Well, let me tell you, even though she have served District 3, up to my eyes, she have served the entire community.
Sure,
'Cause
absolutely.
since I've met her, she's been involved not only in her district, but she's been involved in anywhere she gets invited. And she attends, she shows presence, and to me, she's a very close personal friend of mine.
She
And
works.
she
And
has
I
my
think
full support.
and I think she's that voice on our council that
Yes.
speaks for many individuals, and she's always been. She was the one vote, or she was very adamant against the RNC.
Yeah.
And she was not wavering since the very beginning. She didn't flip at the very end, even though I'm glad some of them did flip. But so you had someone else?
Yes, I have one more. Dimple Ashmere.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
Generally, you can as an advocate, I'm always able to talk to her and tell her what I need, and she weighs in everybody and then makes the best decision collectively as a group.
Yeah.
I have always been able to advocate to her, so I really respect her for that.
Oh yeah.
Dipple's
And
very
she's-
fair-minded.
She's
I
very
mean, I've had
fair-minded.
some great conversations with her.
She's very trustworthy. I think she's getting unfair press about her work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to my timeline and you see the events that she has put on, the thing is, other people may not be attending the events that she's hosting,
Correct.
and then they're making those decisions about her.
Well, but I know what you're referring to. Do you mind if I say what you're referring to?
Well, just
That's your observer.
she's been,
thing?
yeah, the observer.
Okay,
They're just
yeah.
saying that she
Yeah.
doesn't have a strong work ethic, and
But that's what.
and I followed her all year.
But
so
that's
I
what-
went
Well,
to
that's
her
the
events.
distraction that the press wants to create, since they know that she has a good leadership.
That's a very subjective
is-
criticism.
yeah.
That's the
To
big
me,
complaint about
she's
that.
a peace player. She knows how to move the right piece at
Yeah.
the right
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'm just saying is I documented the government.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
I documented the government, and she was out in the community. She may not have been at the events that you wanted her to be at,
Yeah.
but she was actively working in the communities. And we also have to keep in mind that she did get married this
Yes.
year.
Oh, yeah.
So she
Well-
does get a minute to herself to form a family
that's
bond.
what I was gonna say. She also has family in another state, so she deserves her own personal time as well. So
I think-
mean, since
yeah.
I've met her, since I supported her when she first started, she picked up
Yeah.
from John Autry. She's been involved.
She's been involved.
She's
I
been
think
involved.
I think the Charlotte Observer, and which is one of the reasons it's so important that we have free press, a digital press, all kinds of different. And you guys have been victims, I think, of lack of press as well. Because because there are many people who only think there's two people running,
Oh yeah.
and it is. And the Charlotte Observer has a lot of blame for that because they still continually only put the two of the names.
Well,
and
on
they
that,
completely
not
write
only
out.
not only the Charlotte Observer, a lot of the
WTV, the
yes,
debate,
a lot of
yeah.
our social medias, a lot of our news
Yeah.
that only think
Only
there's
talk-
only two
yeah.
candidates.
And that is, and then of course, then you have the strategies of both campaigns, both the Republicans and the Democratic candidate.
You know who's interfering
Bishops
a lot
running-
too?
Mhm.
I just found out because of my neighborhood.
Yeah.
A lot of neighborhoods, HOA do not allow no one to be canvassing.
Yeah.
So a lot of these
Yeah.
people don't really know, the
No.
residents don't know who is who's
Well,
canvassing.
Speaking of canvassing, that's a good point because there's something really going on big this weekend that I mentioned to you guys. But back to the Observer article.
Yeah.
The Charlotte Observer board, and we'll repeat it again and again and again until
Which
they
are
change it. They're two white men. They're two older white guys.
Not like y'all.
Not like y'all. Two older white guys and one African American gentleman. They take turns writing the editorial. They don't publish their names because they don't want women to get upset that there's no women input. There's no young people's input.
Ooh.
There's no people of color outside the one gentleman who writes about more racial issues. But the other two, and so when they write their editorials, understand they're writing it in the lens of a South Charlotte kind of older white guy. It almost, that article they did last week or whatever it came out about, they were talking about the candidates and kind of doing this. It was like Gossip Girl kind of like, well, rumor has it that so.
Can I throw one extra candidate? You
Yes.
have three. Can I throw mine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is one of my best friends, Jorge Milares.
Yes, Jorge. Yeah,
He's been Jorge before, and now that he's running, and I'm
Yes.
hoping that he stays Jorge in that seat.
Yes.
I don't agree, and I really have boycott, literally, and I mention it. I boycott the Charlotte Observer. I
Well,
don't
many
want to
people
see them. I don't want to receive them. I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to believe not even half of the little ink that they use on their newspaper, because that's shameful. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't go back 10 years before. Come on, not even the president nowadays. I mean, he has more things to be thrown on his face, and nobody has done anything. Why just the city council? Because he's Latino?
So here's the thing. As politicians, we are human. We make mistakes. We're not trophy figures that are just coming out, but it is those hardships that we learn from, that we grow from, that motivate us to run for office and make that change that we need. So, I'm glad to know what dirt is in their history from the Charlotte Observer so I can make the best decisions. But I'm also going to take the time to meet each candidate to see if they've grown from their mistakes. And are they going to be able to use the skill set that they learned while they were growing to benefit the city.
Yep.
And Terry, what you said was exactly what we had been talking about. If we approach this as a job interview, would we look at those things that they put in the Observer when we hired someone? We would look at those, but that would not be the determining factor.
Actually, it would help us to make a
it would
better
help us. We
decision
would say,
because
you know
that's
what?
experience.
Yeah, you know.
They'll know how to deal with that.
Exactly. And so I think that's really important for us to, if we look at it from the lens of a job interview, those little catty gossip girl things that Observer likes to talk about mean less and less. And I hope and I believe that people are starting now to understand that, as you mentioned, you know, those are not, we probably need more people who have had bumps in the road in Congress, because having these perfect people, look what we've got.
Yeah.
I mean, look at
They don't understand.
they
what
don't
real
understand what
people
we're
go
Well,
through.
Exactly.
and here's the thing: is the press can be super selective.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it was just like the House check bouncing scandal of the 1990s. They were very selective on which politicians they really called out on bounce checks, when almost every House of Representatives for the National Congress bounced checks to the House bank. But there is a truth, and then there's a truth behind the truth. And so a lot of times I'll be very selective and call out a Mitch McConnell, and then not call out
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
So, yeah.
And or vice versa. Whoever the person is, they won't call out and go, oh, well, they weren't so bad because they only bounced 2 checks and Mitch bounced 10. And so we make this, our moral compass slides a lot in politics.
Well,
They mentioned
and-
Julie Iso, and I would like to know. I mean, I don't dislike her. She's a good friend of mine, but what had she done?
But tax problems, for example, like what they brought up with
Oh,
Jorge,
don't make me
for
talk.
example, you can actually not do your withholding right during the year, for example, because I've had this happen to me. So
It's happened to me too. Yeah.
I was in marketing.
Yeah.
I was working for a company. I'd already worked for them for a couple of years. They changed how they were paying us, which changed the withholding schedule. I was young. I didn't know that I didn't withhold enough. I went to do my taxes. I owed the IRS $3,000.
Wow.
When my significant other at the time was in college. I like to had a stroke.
well,
And so I called the IRS. They set me up on a real nice payment plan. It was like calling Sears or something like that. They had like a little customer service department. It was actually, they weren't shaming. They're like, oh no, we're not gonna come and throw you in the slammer or anything like that. They set me up on a payment plan. They took every one of my tax refunds until I paid it off. And so they set it up basically like a student loan.
yeah.
It's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens. It's
But
going
the
to
way they
happen.
wrote, and they also
The way they wrote
But to
it.
Jorge's credit, he overcame that.
Yeah.
He paid that off. It shows his determination and his forthrightness. I want a guy or gal run for office that can overcome things like that, that can stick it through a storm and survive it and come out the other side a better human being.
Well, and they said, and it was really, really
and
bad reporting
was
because it was
a
more
hatchet
like
job.
it was a hatchet job.
It was a hatchet job. Let's call it like it is.
And to Ruth's thing, for them to say that Dimple Ashmir was not attending meetings.
by third
Third
person.
part, yeah,
saying
it
like
was
a rumor.
It was like saying, well,
Somebody gossiped
what
us.
I heard was, it was
But I also want
as
to,
well.
but I also want to shift it over to the 9th for a second.
Yeah.
And then
Yes,
the other
that's
side,
really
omission on purpose is also shoddy by the press.
Yes.
Yep.
But they've literally, because I'm on the social media almost 24/7, and I can literally say there is nothing written about y'all hardly at all.
And then when someone,
And if this is an important race, if the 9th is that important of a race, like everybody's making a deal, then why don't you have all 4 voices in the deal? Because you guys go to so many events, you should be able to get the coverage, and they're ignoring you too.
and then when
And that's
someone
horrible.
does say something about them, one of the McCready Creepers or the Bishop Boobers, one of those trolls will post, "You're a wasted vote." This. They will add that on there, which is, like I said, it's a Hillary strategy and it's a Trump strategy. It failed both of them.
But see, I think that also their party has their fault because they stay very quiet. They stay very conservative, very under the crowd. I didn't know about y'all until I started, digging more into it. So y'all are not too open. Y'all are not too.
But-
now you are
But
on Fridays.
Ruth, to the defense of these two parties, I will tell you that if you compare their parties with the people who are supporting McCready and Bishop, they actually have jobs.
Oh yeah.
No, and I don't mean
Yeah,
that facetiously.
I
I mean, a
understand that.
lot of their followers are workers.
Mhm.
The people that are supporting the McCready Creepers are retired old white
yeah.
women. There are students
They
who
just
are
sit at
campaigning
home
for the
and start
campaign. They're
doing-
just doing.
Mhm.
The bishop people are usually stay-at-home moms.
These
bishop keepers.
are paid staff.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
paid. They're paid social media people who that's all they do
Yeah.
is do those
Yeah,
things.
but what I'm
They
saying is
plant
their
the seeds.
party needs to be more reflective
Yes.
out in the community.
Oh, no.
You
Oh,
have
yeah,
to you
yeah.
have to do more
Yeah.
press conferences, open up to more forums. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they show up or not. Y'all start calling in the community.
Well,
I think-
I don't disagree with that, and be, you know, as chair of the local Libertarian Party, I mean, one thing we do is we do set up our monthly meetings and we do set up events. We did our South Charlotte Forum. You know, we've got some other things. We had the vice chair of the National Party come down.
Yeah.
So we've got other sort of events planned. Some of them are a little wonkier, right? We've got academics coming down to talk about some of the important issues in the world.
Well, let's since we're going to be running out of time, and then we have to take a break and then go into our debate. Let's go ahead and talk about this election because we
Sure.
talked about city council. There's some great seats going on there. In my city council district, I can't vote in the Republican primary because I'm a registered Democrat. If you're unaffiliated or if you're Republican, you can vote in the Republican primary if you decide. And there are two people. There's Victoria and there's Ed Driggs. So we actually have a choice if you're between those two, which I think is going to be an exciting race.
Victoria, it's a Republican.
Yes, not you're talking about the Ed Victoria who's running a district
Victoria
2 or 3.
Waddleton.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
she's Democrat.
Victoria.
Oh, okay.
Victoria, the other one.
Covington or whatever.
No,
Yes, she is a Republican running for city council. So
Gotcha.
get out to vote. Whoever you vote for, there is no such thing as a wasted vote. Vote. Just vote.
Right.
That is what's really, really important.
So remember, we did invite
Yes.
Victoria to our South
We
Charlotte
did.
Forum, and Ed showed up,
Yeah.
but she did not.
That's
so
correct.
We have no idea. I mean, we see her signs, and maybe she's doing mailings, but not a very visible candidacy. I mean, I get criticized for that, and so does Alan. But I don't know what she stands for.
Sure. Well, so let's talk about this race,
Sure.
and we've been promising that we were gonna do this all summer long. We're finally gonna do it because we don't have that much time left.
Well, this is the last chance for romance, right?
Last chance for romance. So we're gonna pull this out of the way.
Summer's almost
And
over.
I'm gonna take. This is really hot in here.
Thank you.
Am I the only one that?
I'm super high.
Oh, thank you. By the way, Jenny, I've been using
Flame
this.
on.
It's so wonderful that I have to put everything on. And
I love your.
and I'm gonna put my bless your heart.
Oh
My
Lord.
bless your heart wig on. So now we're going to talk about the four candidates that are running and issues that are important. We're going to add 2 issues that you guys are able to add.
Okay.
So on the first issue, gun sense, and specifically assault weapon ban. Do these people support assault weapon ban? And I think this is very timely because that was one of the questions that was asked during the WBTV Charlotte Observer debate of the 4 candidates. So, you ready?
And we also have Erin Lee who is watching, and I know that she
excellent.
is a McCready follower.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
So
excellent.
she might be able to chime in as well.
Excellent.
Hi, Aaron.
So, does Jeff Scott support assault weapon ban?
No, I do not.
No. Does Dan Bishop? No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Dan Bishop does not, but as I discussed with the Monster in Action, at the debate, he was asked that question, and he said he would consider everything. He was actually a little bit more rational about the answer. He basically said he would not put anything off the table.
Well, my view is that assault weapons, in effect, military-style weapons, are already against the law. So
Okay.
the idea that we would sort of expand this category to sort of basically dressed up semi-automatic pistols doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so that's an explanation.
Yeah.
So what do we need to give him a negative, positive?
I give him a negative. The only thing I've ever read about Bishop on that is that he is against it.
Okay.
Of any kind.
So yes, I do. But can I add to that?
Yes.
Because after having talked, so Jeff and I have talked about this, and I've done research on it too, and I understand that it's a slippery slope because you can define assault weapons a certain way.
Yeah.
but you get into this thing where people can 3D print guns,
Yeah.
and people can dress up
That's right.
semi-automatic pistols to look like rifles. So it's not cut and dry, but generally speaking, yes.
Okay.
And when Stoney comes, we'll have a discussion, a broader discussion about this. So, but we're both basically in support of the Second Amendment.
Yeah. Dan McCready.
Who's he? I mean, do we even care what he thinks? I mean, it's just
No, we
like
do.
he's-
I don't think we know anything,
It's
so we
important
don't know.
because if you're a Moms Demand Action person, which I am,
Yeah.
we need to know how this person would vote.
I have no
But-
idea.
At the
We have no
WBTV
idea.
debate, he said he would not.
Yeah.
He was a no, that he would
Okay.
not support it.
Okay.
And what was concerning to me
Mhm.
is, and I had conversations with some on-demand action people, he was an immediate no. And I think it was very unfortunate, because had he just attended one single Moms Demand Action meeting or one community meeting about gun violence, he would know to have answered more like Bishop. Bishop answered more like a polished politician. I'm not going to put anything off the table. That's rational. He just said nope. That was it. And
But in his defense, though, he is a former Marine, and so I've never met many military people that are going to talk about gun restrictions.
Yeah.
To be fair, because I've got a lot of friends that are Democrats,
Sure.
but on their military side, their military comes out and they'll say, "I really don't want gun
But
restrictions."
Jenny, that is a very good point, because if you are a gun sense voter,
Right.
maybe you don't want a military person to represent you.
Yeah, and that's another point. I mean, with his Marine
Yeah.
experience and that military training, would that be a conflict of interest
Yeah.
when you're making a gun decision?
So people will have to
And
make that decision, if that is an issue that is important to you.
especially if you're a single issue or
Yes.
or a very narrow
And
voter.
full disclosure, the young lady that was here from Moms Demand Action who did the Be Smart training program with us is a retired Air Force officer.
That's
Correct.
right.
And she is not against gun restrictions, she's about safety.
That's right.
Correct.
So we're
Yeah.
the thing is, we're all really in agreement
Yeah.
about what common sense means and how you deal with your children,
Yes.
and you got special circumstances and how you handle
Yeah, we're not restricting
dangerous
guns.
tools. I mean, we're all in agreement on that. The question is, my position is the Second Amendment is very
Yeah.
inviolate, even if the government has all the weapons. We are like this close to having a very tyrannical government cracking down on civil disorder.
Sure.
You know.
Okay,
And so there's a lot of people, on the Libertarian Party who.
and I understand
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and I know that John Jefferson is
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, we gotta get through this.
So, Medicare for all.
No.
This is healthcare. So does he support that? No,
No.
he does not.
No, I
I'm
don't.
the legislative co-chair of this,
Okay,
so I can
Not-
answer
Dan
this.
Bishop, Medicare
No.
for all.
Yay! He
Yes,
supports
yes.
yes.
You
Alan,
panderer. You are
Dan
a
McCready.
panderer.
I don't think that McCready agrees with Medicare for
No,
all.
he
No,
wants,
he
he
does
wants,
not.
has
he
them.
wants,
He has his own plan.
he has
So-
one
Here's
fix
what I will
ACA.
tell you.
Sure.
Jeff, I will always be your friend, but I'm always going to be an advocate for Medicare
Sure.
for all.
Well, we're gonna have longer discussions about this after the election, because we're gonna be going into a state election
Yeah.
and national
Medicaid
assembly,
expansion.
and we're gonna talk about these issues, because I've got a pet theory about why this is impossible to achieve.
But the reason this question is important is because these four people are running for Congress, which is controlled by the Democrats, and we want to know how they're going to vote. Now, you can have any plan you want to,
Yeah.
but if you're going to be voting against Medicare for all, we need to know that.
That's right.
If you say I have my own plan, then I need to consider whether I want to put you in Congress or I need to run you for governor or
I think
senator or president.
Aaron Lee just posted a comment. Tara, you want to read it?
Politicians behold to the special interest are doing nothing to stop the tragic gun violence.
Yes.
The
Reality.
reality is Mitch McConnell is blocking everything out of the House. So we have to get started with what we can get done. That's why Dan McCready has called for background checks. There is a 90% voter support for comprehensive background checks, and
Yes.
Trump is even open to it, along with the red flag laws. Let's get that done. Then let's have the conversation on all we need to do to take the gun violence.
Sure.
Let's pass a domestic
and I think-
Patriot Act
and
because
that's-
it
and
will be
that's
just
and
as
that's-
successful
no,
as the original
No,
Patriot
and
Act.
that is a very good explanation.
Yes.
And thank you for giving us
Thank
that.
you, Aaron.
Thank you.
I
Aaron.
wish your candidate could say that.
Mhm.
Because you're not running for office. Your candidate's running for
But
office.
But
Aaron,
to be
maybe you
fair,
shouldn't run for
I mean,
office,
he does have a
Aaron.
very large campaign.
But that's all he has to say. Oh,
I think Aaron should run for office.
Aaron should run for office.
Right.
All
He-
the person
he
has
is-
to
he
say
is the,
was,
he is the pro-surveillance candidate.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
believes in universal background checks
Yeah.
for people who want to protect themselves
Yeah.
from aggression by their domestic government.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going down a rabbit hole.
Thank you for
There
the
you go.
explanation.
Okay.
There you
So-
go.
Put your tinfoil hat back on.
So medical, cannabis, in the federal prohibition of cannabis, remember this is a federal office we're talking
Right.
about, not
Yeah.
state.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Do you believe in ending the Schedule 1 status of cannabis as a federal, the same as it, you believe in, you would vote to
Yeah.
end it, right?
Yeah.
So you're supporting to
Pro.
end it,
Give me a double plus
okay? Dan Bishop,
and an extra gold star.
I don't think he's ever,
I don't think.
I've
think
never
it's
seen him weigh in either way.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
To be fair
He
to
probably
Bishop,
gets a double.
to be
McCready?
fair to the Bishop, he's got a little
McCready?
bit. He's got a little bit of a libertarian streak on
McCready?
his thing.
I haven't
I
heard
haven't
anything
Okay,
from.
Aaron, how does McCready stand on this? By the way, she said that response came directly from McCready, so
Okay.
that was his response directly.
On the page.
On-
That's
that
on
I
his
just
page.
read.
Okay,
That's on his page.
But that's still
Yeah,
fair.
that's
That's
fine.
fair.
Okay, so that's fair.
According to the normal, they have given Dan McCready a no.
No.
That's
Okay.
right.
A no.
That's
Okay.
right.
So, Green New Deal. Do you support the Green New Deal? No.
Wow.
Jeff!
Nope.
I knew he was going to turn that down.
I've been writing and publishing on the
Well,
topic of the Green
yes.
New Deal
So you would
for
vote
over
yes?
20 years.
And Dan McCready has said he would not vote for the Green New Deal.
Ah.
So he's a negative.
When he has a solar plant,
If the Green New
money.
if the Green New Deal is
Out of
important to
it?
you,
I know, that's shocking for me too.
my
actually.
biggest concern
If he
about
can make money, probably.
my biggest concern about Dan McCready's whole environmental thing is he never talks about wind energy. It's all he talks about is solar, and wind is just as important as and so is
We can put
hydro.
windmills on
Aaron,
a lot of
can you
extra
find out
politicians'
for us,
houses.
please?
Or nuclear.
27
What's going on here?
27G. Do you support 27G? No.
Really?
Can we do a
No.
plus?
Wait a
We
minute.
should
What do you
be
mean by
putting-
supporting?
Oh, I mean, do you want 287?
I want to
You want
abolish.
no? You want to abolish?
I want to abolish.
You would vote to
ICE.
abolish 27G
Yeah.
and ICE.
That's right. I'm supportive of Ilan Omar
oh, so
and
you're a
AOC.
positive.
Yeah, that's what I was
I'm
gonna say.
sorry.
Yeah.
So you're positive.
And now I get a triple
He
positive.
supports.
Uh-huh.
He does not. Do you support abolishing 27G?
Yes, and ice.
Yes.
Oh, so you're both. Okay.
All right.
So you
Smart.
get a double. He gets a double
Damn it.
plus.
Dan McCready does not support abolishing 287G and actually wants to fund more.
And he wants to
Ice.
work to make it better, more
For your
restricted.
values,
Yes.
your American values, which is always
Not unless he
scary.
changed
But-
that, but I do have a copy of it.
But to McCready's credit, he did support the governor's decision, and Dan
Yes.
Bishop jumped all
Yeah.
over him for it.
That is correct.
So
But he has not shown any
I agree.
support.
I agree with that little ounce of courage he showed by
But he
saying
has not
that.
shown any support for our black sheriff. Not any support for our
That's
black
At all?
sheriff. Uh-uh. So, and I think that's very telling.
That's right.
If you're a Democrat, you should at least support our sheriff.
I'm a big supporter of
Okay,
Gary McFadden.
So
I get
now
it.
let's talk
Quadruple plus.
two more issues. What's important? Who wants an issue that's really important to them?
War,
War.
America, and the world. These,
All right.
these two candidates are indifferent to the plight of the people
Well,
we're bombing around
let's
the
be
world.
fair. You would vote to end the wars and bring people home.
That's right.
You will vote or not vote?
Vote. He would vote to end the wars.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So
So
how
it-
come we're putting that as a minus?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So he
I'm
was.
pro-peace. I guess we should call
Yeah.
it peace.
Pro-peace.
Are you?
I
You're
don't
a
think.
peace.
I
Okay.
don't
We're
think
pro-peace
that Dan would
candidate.
You're a
vote-
peacemaker.
I don't know, but because I don't know, he gets a negative. Because if
Right.
you don't tell us what you believe, then we have to assume you
Well, the
don't
Republican
know.
Party in general has been supporting the expansion of war.
That's
Yeah.
right. And,
I
they-
Yeah.
think he goes with
and,
RNC
and
on
budget
that.
and budget deficits
Yeah.
to pay for it.
Yes.
Yes,
Nice.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the war.
And Mr. McCready,
He just thinks we should have a rainbow
He's a Marine.
coalition of people killing other people.
Yeah, he
I-
agrees with that.
I have heard him say that he believes that
We all get
I-
together, Republicans
I don't
and
know,
Democrats,
have you heard him
poor
say-
and
Yeah.
rich.
It's my understanding, not to interrupt you. I think
No,
it's
no,
great.
no.
So if I'm remembering this correctly, his stance on it is to you go in with I can't remember the phrasing, extraordinary firepower, overwhelming force,
up the hill.
yeah, and
And a diverse war
a
force.
decisive victory.
Yeah.
I think is what.
So I guess I
Well, I think
guess
he's
it's hard to
thinking,
answer that one.
and I've seen him write a little bit on this,
Yeah.
is that, and it would be consistent with his career.
Yeah.
He is most military when they go into a deal that they want an objective in mind, whether it was
So
Eisenhower
I think
or
it's fair to
McCready
give
or
him
whomever.
the-
Say
would
hi to
probably
Philip
vote-
Cano. He's happy to see you
I
again.
think we
Hi.
we have to
That's
give
our
him a
brother.
plus.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. One more issue. Last 5
LGBT
minutes.
and
Oh,
perfect.
yeah,
LGBT.
LGBTQIALMNOP.
PQRSSTU.
Have you seen the Dave Chappelle?
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have.
All right.
Yes, I have.
Oh man.
It is really
It is funny. It is funny.
All right,
Oh,
we
man.
won't even talk
To
about
the
it.
spirit of George Carlin.
I love George
He's
Carlin.
pro,
I've missed
and he
him
was
so
at, actually, yeah,
Pro.
he's pro, I can do
You're
this.
pro?
Yes, the only.
Listen.
We can get into a discussion later about the importance of anti-discrimination laws and whether they overshoot their mark. Okay, because that's where we have the discussions at the Pride Parade. Are anti-discrimination laws appropriate, or do they lead to bad consequences
Okay.
sometimes?
Yeah.
So we know you've been at we know you've been in Pride. Your party supports LGBTQ.
That's
It's
right.
more of a government get out of my house type
Yeah.
of situation.
Get out of my bedroom, get out of my
But
wallet.
the two
Oh, that's
issues that you would vote
Yeah.
for, there's the Equality Act and there's ending the discrimination against
Correct.
transgender people in the military.
Mhm.
How would you vote on those two?
Ending, yeah, I've got no problem
Okay,
with
so that'd be a plus, but I
Yeah.
think you would probably vote against the Equality Act.
Well, because the Equality Act is also a package deal because it has to do with government basically setting wage.
Okay,
uh,
so
wa-
you're
wage rates
pro,
and
but you would
salaries.
vote against the Equality Act.
Yeah,
That's
because
gonna have to be
because
fair.
it's the
Is that right?
package.
That's
It's
right.
the package, and I just
I-
don't believe the federal government should be in the business of setting prices and
Okay,
wages.
so Bishop would vote against the Equality Act.
Yeah.
I know
Good thing.
you're
Alan,
party.
Dan.
Yeah.
You're all the way, right?
All the way,
You're all the way. You would vote for the Equality Act and
Yeah.
vote against, and you would vote for ending the discrimination against transgender people in the military.
I vote for ending the
That's right,
discrimination.
exactly,
yeah.
because that's actually legislation that people are
Right.
voting on.
You
Dan McCready has never
can't
showed
be a
up.
politician.
To be fair, and I get a lot of it, Dan McCready has never showed up to Pride. He has
He didn't
never,
go to the Pride Parade?
He did. He did.
Yeah, he did.
He was at the table
had a
right next to
table.
me for about 5 minutes, and
He was
and,
the
I,
Democrat.
and I caught the evil eye from his wife, but he never bothered.
But he's
to
never
look
marched.
over.
Yeah, but a lot of people
So
get
he
the
didn't
evil
mark?
eye, to be fair.
Oh, that's true. I get the evil eye from
Okay.
a lot of people.
So
I don't
he
want,
didn't
I don't want
march?
to single
No,
him
he didn't
out.
No, he did not march.
and he
So
has
that
never,
shows
he's
that
never,
he didn't
he's never
support.
attended the Fayetteville Pride either. He's never attended,
That's right.
and which is very unusual because a person his age, you would think, would be more comfortable with our LGBT, speaking openly about
Yeah.
equality rights.
Is he
Oh, I
older
ran
than
into
me?
Marcia at Matthews Alive.
Oh,
yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
42.
So,
No, he's
but
younger.
we do know that he has,
No.
will not vote for the Equality
And
Act,
I'm a pro.
and we know that he
Wow.
supports. This is what the reason I'm voting against him. The number one reason he supports discriminating people in our professional military who are LGBTQ, and that is a very serious issue with me because I'm LGBTQ. But that to me speaks volumes. So. These are this
Are
is
you
just
sure you're Green Party?
No, so this is the truth. He was a Democrat until
Yeah.
he decided to switch to his
Which
party.
Democrat? I mean, with
Only-
his party is just everything
To
similar to it.
Well,
to
we
remove
need.
the financial burden.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because the Democrats, you have
More
to wait so
conservative,
much.
yeah.
But that's not that's the reason I switched to the Green Party.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is it is an
Part of it.
advantage. You know?
Influence.
a
All
lot-
right. So we got to end this here.
Sure.
So these are the four choices
Don't
we
speak,
have.
'cause I'm going to
Early
vote
voting is
today.
going on today,
Yeah,
Thursday,
I'm on my
Friday.
way to
Then the
vote.
election is actually on 10th, which is Tuesday. If these are your issues that you are concerned about, you see how these people would vote if they were in Congress. Now, this is where the vote shaming comes in, which is what I'm completely against. The people that represent these two people are trying to shame people to say it doesn't make any difference what he stands for or what he stands for because he has no choice to win this election. So if you vote for them, you're voting for him. Or if you vote for them, you're voting for him. That's called vote shaming. It doesn't work. It actually backfires, because what happens is, if these are issues that are important to you, and I also don't believe that you should ever give someone the job with the hope they're going to do better. That makes no logical sense.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
that.
called white privilege.
Yeah.
Hire me because I might do better. No, I'm hiring one of these people because of what their skill set is, how I know they're going to vote, not with the hopes that they're going to do better. None of us will ever be afforded that same right if we went to apply for a job, so we shouldn't apply for these people. But the reason it's important was because if you vote on one of these issues, regardless of anyone wins, the next election, which starts in 3 months, the people will be running on those issues. Just like we're running on Medicare for All now, because Bernie Sanders did so well in 2016. And so if these are important issues, and if you want another candidate for the next election to be representing your issues, vote on those issues and tell your friends, the reason I'm voting for him is because he supports ending the federal prohibition of cannabis. Or the reason I'm voting for him is, for whatever reason, or for him.
He supports in the war.
Yeah.
Is that what he is?
Well, so anyway, so
Wait,
that is our
McCready, you put a plus.
We gave him a plus. We want to give him the benefit because we believe that he's not for war. He just believes in being
Intersectional war.
So we've got to give him credit for even though it kind of goes against what I said. We hope he's going to do well. Vote against it. But anyway, these are the 4 choices you have. The most important part of this is there's no such thing as a wasted vote. Democracy, regardless of who wins and who loses, the world will not end. And this theory that this is the most important, yes, every election is the most important election of our day. But we have to stop vote shaming, and we have to start voting for people who stand for issues that our families stand for. Because this is why we're in the mess we are in America, is because we go tribal. We vote shame people. Right. We say, neighbor, your voice is terrible, and so forth. So.
And every voter that I run into who takes more than 10 seconds to talk to me, whether it's Matthews Alive or Pride, they're totally disgusted by what's going on now, the junk mail they're getting, the hysteria, the fact that I have to tell them that there's actually 4 people on the ballot. They are really upset by this.
So one of the common things is, and I've heard this because I'm around a lot of Democratic Party insiders. They're saying this is a referendum of being either anti or pro-Trump. That this election, if a Democrat wins, it shows that our country is ready for change. And if Dan Bishop wins, it's a referendum for Trump, and the dominoes are going to fall the other way. It's the domino theory all over again. And it's very intellectually dishonest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I've got some friends that believe that way and are passionate that way and are pitching it. And it's not I'm not, somebody very close to me believes that way too. And so, but I do believe that this is a regional political battle, and it's a backyard battle, and it does not have national implications, because this whole extra race came upon because of some chicanery going on and some pickup services.
Jenny, we're running out because we've got to take a quick break, and then we're going to broadcast the big climate debate, which I'm actually very excited and looking forward, because that's a big issue in my family. Is climate change. Get your popcorn ready. But as we go out, everyone tell us where you're going to be, and I just want to get one more plug in for this. This is one of the most marriage equality was one of the biggest issues of my lifetime. This is the second biggest issue. And guns. There's a lot of big issues, but this is something that impacts people's lives on whether they can actually live. So
I agree.
Tell us where you are, and we're going to sign out and then redo our chairs and restart for. Tell us. You want to go ahead and start? Thank you.
The 6th. That's on Friday. That's coming up. We're having a candidate forum. Please reach out to me if you are a candidate.
Alexa,
it is to support workers' wages.
Getting to Depeche Mode Station from iHeartRadio.
I didn't want to speak over Alexa, I'm sorry. So I will be at early voting this week and kind of making the rounds around the various early voting locations. And then on Friday I'll be at Julia's with Jeff.
Yeah, Friday we'll be at Julia's for our last show of the season, and then Saturday we've got an event in both Laurinburg and Fayetteville. So we're going to be out in the East Bay counties, East State counties, and then we're going to be wrapping it up. I mean, I guess perhaps we can even go to this Donald Trump at Fayetteville.
That's
airport
right.
thing.
That's right.
Well, yeah.
Because
Did we ever get any news?
We're waiting to be approved.
Yeah.
So we don't want.
So
Yeah,
I
you could
don't-
you could say something about it if you want to.
Yeah, you can't imagine what a thrill that would be for me to go to
Oh,
an event.
wow.
The best ever.
Oh, yeah, because I'm standing in the way.
We're waiting to be
of
approved,
the
though.
bishop's coronation.
That's right.
By stealing his voters.
Ruth, where are you going to be?
Well, I'll be voting, early
Okay,
voting,
excellent.
this week before the crowd
Uh-huh.
starts coming in. I'll be celebrating my first grandson's 5th birthday.
Oh,
on Sunday.
yay!
And hopefully we'll get approved so we can all join
It-
in to
it-
Fayetteville.
Exactly. So basically, what Ruth
Road
is talking,
trip.
what Ruth is talking about is
Kindergarten trip.
Tamales and modelos. Tamales and
Coronas, and tequila.
Coffee and Pondusi.
I didn't know that was in the deal. Wait a minute.
Coffee and Pondusi were waiting to be
Drinks.
approved to broadcast live at the Trump rally in Fayetteville. So we're kind of
We're gonna have a
laughing
road
because
trip.
we'll see. Can you imagine them booing us? Throwing stuff at us?
Why? They're booing us now.
Oh!
Release Jeff.
All right.
I will be
Everyone.
at the now meeting tonight talking about climate change. And
I'll
stay
be there.
tuned. In 5 minutes,
That's right.
I'm going to be moderating these two fellers.
Hair will be on fire.
And someone's gonna get
And
eviscerated.
Aunt Jenny's in the house.
Thank you.